So good morning, everyone. So today we're going to be talking about handwriting examination. So let us proceed. So what is handwriting examination and how it is differentiated from graphology? So graphology is an inference-based system that attempts to determine a person's personality traits through examining his or her handwriting. So basically, it means that this system attempts to identify or determine a person's characteristics or his personality traits based on the way or the strokes of his writing. So basically, if I write something, a graphologist can determine my attitudes, my propensities, depending on what kind of strokes that I use. And handwriting examination, it is a scope of forensic document examination, which determines a person's handwriting with regards to the authenticity of a document. So to understand this is that handwriting examination, it tries to determine the authenticity of a document through scrutinizing a person's handwriting. So basically, it tries to know if that's something, or let's say, if that's your name written in that particular document is truly something that is written by you, and it is not something that is forged by another. So that is the differentiation of the graphology and handwriting examination. So in this presentation, we're going to be talking about 5 things. First is that the individuality of handwriting, factors that influence handwriting, handwriting examination, general characteristics of handwriting form, and the classes and types of handwriting. So first, let us discuss the individuality of handwriting. So forensic document examiners over the years have come to realize that no two writers have been found to write exactly the same. So what this means is that if person A writes something, it cannot be duplicated by person B, nor can it be by person C. And if person B writes something, it cannot be duplicated by person A or person B. So this clearly means that each of us has his own unique set of individual handwriting. And this is something that can never be replicated by anyone, nor can you. So in order to prove it, now take a look at these words here. These are my name. So, and I am the person who wrote these 2 words. So first is this and the second is this. So as you can see, if you try to look closely at these words, you can see that there is a differences among the letters that I use here. So let's say, for example, focus on the letter J here. So as you can see, the beginning stroke did not touch this line here. And when you compare it to the second picture, the beginning stroke almost touched this line here. So as you can see, even me myself cannot duplicate my own handwriting because just like a fingerprint, it is something that is unique to us. And the variation or the constellation of variations happening in handwriting begins at the very moment that pen touches the paper. So that's why it is always varied and it can be different from any time and in any moment. So these are the variations affecting handwriting. So first is the lack of machine-like precision in the human hand. So obviously these hands are not robots, so it will not create the same words or letters it once created the first time it writes something. So second are the external factors such as writing instruments and the writing positions. Third is the influence of physical and mental conditions. And fourth is the quantity of writings prepared in the course of time. So these are all the factors or the variations affecting the handwriting process. So what are the practical application of this? So first is that when you are applying for an ATM account, usually the bank requires 3 signatures. So the bank does this in order to determine the authenticity of your signature. So because you cannot replicate your own handwriting, what the bank does is that they study the different sets of habits or the characteristics that you used in the way you write, and they use it to determine the authenticity if that signature truly belongs to you over time. So the next one is you should maintain one signature. So when we enter the adult world, it is important that we should maintain a single signature, ascertaining our own identity or that signature truly belongs to us. So the third one, if a signature is exactly replicated, it means that it is forged. Since following the logic or principle that your signature or your handwriting cannot be duplicated even by you, and when it is duplicated, it is exactly copied, it can only mean that it is copied from a fraudulent manner. It is being forged by someone or something. What are the factors that influence handwriting? So these are the factors that influence handwriting. First is the mechanical factors. This refers to the writing instruments, the position of the writer, or the unsatisfactory condition to which you are writing. Second, the time span. So basically, the time span means that as we progress in our life, the quality of our handwriting also progresses. And on the other hand, when we reach the age of senility, the skill or the capacity or the skill to which we write also deteriorates as a result of deteriorating nerves, muscles, and bones. So when we grow older, our handwriting becomes better. And when we reach the points when we are so old already, such as 60 years old or 70 years old, our own handwriting also starts to deteriorate. Next is also the health factors, the blindness and the mental health. So of course, when you write when you are ill or when you are sick, it is it feels like as if your hands are powerless, or it does not have enough strength to write in a usual condition that you are writing when you are in a normal state. And furthermore, we also include drugs and medication, alcohol and drug abuse, the accidental strokes, guided hand, and tremor in handwriting. So these are all factors that influence handwriting. So these are all the varied reasons as to why our own handwriting can be at all times changed and varied, even if it's only us who have written it. So handwriting examination. So what is handwriting examination as defined by someone who is an expert? So it is the practice of the application of document examination for the purpose of law. So basically, forensic document examination or interchange with handwriting examination, it is being used in the court in order to determine documentary evidence. So it must be distinguished with graphology because graphology is something that tries to understand a person's personality traits, while this forensic document examination determines the authenticity of a document. So this is an example of graphology. So as you can see, this chart here will try to determine my personality trait. So this is the analysis of handwriting with attempt to determine someone's personality. So that's it. Now, there are also fundamental questions pertaining to handwriting analysis. So when we talk about handwriting analysis, so these are the common questions to which the forensic document examiners tackle in order to carry out their purpose. First is that if the document is authentic or not. So these are first and foremost the question that has to be answered in order for them to begin their scrutiny. So, and all this and all that, and they proceed to whether some contents of the documents are added or removed, or whether this person who is writing the document is the actual or the original author, sorts of questions like that. So these are the scope of their practice. So they examine handwritings and signature, they compare it, they detect alterations and substitutions, they detect mechanical and electronic impressions comparison, and they detect counterfeits such as this bill here. They try to examine whether this bill is authentic or not. So these are the documents that are submitted for such examination. First is that the will, the bank check, marriage contracts, birth certificates, suicide notes, business contracts. So as you can see, these are all common public documents to which people use in order to prove something, or in order to prove that something belongs to them. So let's say, for example, birth certificate or marriage contract. These are all certificates that are needed by people in order to ascertain something. So that's why it is very important that when it is used in court, its veracity or its authenticity is always examined. So the procedures that the examiners follow are the following. So first is the preliminary procedure. So before conducting an examination, they first examine the exemplars and whether there are sufficient or good quality number of documents that can be compared in order for the disputed documents to be authenticated. Next, follows the initial examination. So the examiner here looks for the obvious indication of forgery. So what are the obvious things that can be seen as a result of something that is done out of a fraudulent manner? Next will be the detailed examination. So in this stage, the examiner tries to extensively scrutinize the handwriting and compare it to an authentic exemplar in order to know or to identify all the factors or the characteristics of writing. And next, they will make an identification. They will list the similarities and difference between the questioned and the known document. And they will try to eliminate which one is fraudulent and which ones are not. So lastly, we're going to talk about the general characteristics of handwriting. So first is the line quality. So as you can see here, it answers the question whether there are any erratic and shaky formations in the line. Next will be the spacing of words. So it tries to determine the gap between each word. So these are all characteristics of writing to which all of us used. So follows will be the ratio of individual letters. So basically, it talks about the size or what are the sizes of letters that we tend to use when we write something. And there is actually a ratio for it. Next are the pen lifts and separation. So pen lifts basically means that these are point in a paper where the pen is lifted from the writing material. So for example, the reel here, this point here is the point where the pen is being lifted. So just like that. So pen lift is the point where the pen is being lifted from the writing material. Next will be the connecting stroke. So this refers to the stroke connecting two letters. So as you can see here, the letter R here is being connected to the letter I. And this connecting line here is what you call the connecting stroke. Next will be the beginning and the ending stroke. So the beginning and ending stroke, it basically defines the strokes that the writer used to end or to begin his or her writing. So that's it for the general characteristics. Now we're going to talk about the general characteristics of handwriting in continuation. So the unusual letter formation and shading. The slant basically refers the angle inclination of each word. So this is it. If it is leaning to the right or it is leaning to the left, because sometimes when we write, some other people tend to lean to the right because they're comfortable with it, and other also lean to the left. So it depends on how you write, or it depends on the type of characteristics that you're using. Next will be the baseline habits. So this refers to the imaginary line that serves as the boundary to which the letter sits. So you'll know that it is an ascending baseline when the letter tends to move upward and not touching the baseline. And when you know that it is descending, when it tends that words or letter tends to move downwards, touching the baseline. And we also have embellishments. These are what you call the additional lines or curves intended to beautify the words or letters. So these are embellishments. As you can see, the examples here, there are extenders that are used to beautify the letters. Next will be the diacritics. So basically, diacritics are the line that is used on the letter T and the dots used in the letter I. So basically, it is this line here and the dots that are used in the letter I. So that is it. Next will be the classes of handwriting. So in the classes of handwriting, we have block or printed handwriting. So this basically means the uncapital or uncursive letter that is used by us. So when we write something that is not cursive, it means that it is block or printed. And usually this is the first type of classes that is being taught to children trying to learn how to write. So basically anything that is not cursive is what you call block or printed handwriting. So next will be the script or the cursive writing. So it is the style which the letters are joined together in a flowing manner. So basically, this is the cursive handwriting to which children's from grade 3 and above are using. So as you can see, the words and letters are being connected by connecting lines. So basically, understand this as a cursive way of writing. Next is the legible handwriting. Basically, it describes the readable print or handwriting. So any words that are readable are considered legible classes. And its opposite is the illegible handwriting, which means anything that is unreadable or handwriting that is unreadable, it is illegible handwriting. And it's the calligraphic handwriting. So this type of handwriting is evident of a skillful manner of writing something. So as you can see here, the words are clearly written with utmost skill and beautification. So with constant practice, perhaps a person can do this type of class or the calligraphic handwriting. Next is the cacographic handwriting. So basically, the best example for cacographic understanding for us to understand is the way the doctor writes when they try to receipt something as with medication. So these are the example of it. So this is the cacographic handwriting. So basically, it is as if it is unreadable, but actually it is. So this is the example for it. Lastly will be the disguised handwriting. So this basically changing the way you write, modify it in the sense that the people who are reading that writing will not identify that it is you who have written it. So basically, this is your original handwriting. And when you try to write something, you change it in a sense that they will not recognize that you are the one who have written it. So that is basically the last type of the classes handwriting. So that's all. And thank you, folks.